Hey everybody, this is Tim with Op-Ed Daily. A Sacramento mother faces 6 months in jail and 3 years probation for letting her son play outside for 15 to 20 minutes by himself. So where was he outside? Well, he was 120 feet from her door at a playground that's situated inside of her apartment complex. So the neighbors, Sonia Horrell, saw the boy, Tomahawk Hendren is the boy's name, saw him out there for 15 to 20 minutes and asked the boy to go home, but the boy said that he wasn't ready to stop playing, so she and her daughter went inside and called Child Protective Services. According to the mother that had called Child Protective Services, quote, "I just thought she would get a warning and then she wouldn't let him out alone again." But then they go on to say, and this is the daughter of that woman, quote, "I'm not mad she has to do things now to teach her, because what if someone did take him?" And then the mother says, almost in unison with the daughter, quote, "How would she feel if he was on an Amber Alert? Then what would she be feeling?" But now there's a Child Protective Services case. They offered her a plea bargain, a deal that would reduce the sentence to 30 days in jail and 1 year probation. But she, of course, rejected that. That's a ridiculous plea bargain. So now she could face up to 6 months in jail and 3 years probation. And the lawyer of Hendren, her attorney, Sacramento-based Alan Clintian, said it best when he said, if this had happened 20 years ago, we wouldn't be here. There wouldn't be a criminal case filed. He's absolutely correct. And according to him, in order for the prosecution to charge her with child endangerment and neglect, they'd have to prove that Hendren, the mother, willfully placed Tomahawk in danger, which doesn't seem likely. Doesn't seem like that's what happened to me. Now, Hendren believes in free-range parenting and loves being a mother, according to her. She said she, breastfed for 28 months, cloth diapered, and tries to avoid being a helicopter parent. And there is ample evidence that shows helicopter parenting as being detrimental to people's health, to students' health. They don't grow up with that sense of independence and well-being and confidence and ability to think for themselves. In fact, there are studies after studies after studies. The American College Health Association had surveyed close to 100,000 college students from 153 different campuses about their health. And when asked about their experiences, at some point over the 12 months, 84.3% felt overwhelmed by all that they had to do, 60.5% felt very sad, 57% felt very lonely, 51% felt overwhelming anxiety, and 8% seriously considered suicide. And in 2010, psychology professor Neil Montgomery of Keene State College in New Hampshire had surveyed 300 college freshmen nationwide and found that students with helicopter parents were less open to new ideas and actions and more vulnerable, anxious, and self-conscious. He said that students who were given responsibility and not constantly monitored by their parents, these free-range parents, the effects were reversed. And this is study after study after study shows that being a helicopter parent is very detrimental to the child when he or she becomes an adult. Why do you think we have all these kids on psychotropic drugs? We've created this society of parents that are afraid to let the child out of his or her sight. And I don't know that that's necessarily the parent's fault, because the blame really lies with the system that we've created for ourselves, where your neighbor will call Child Protective Services on you if your child's outside for 15, 20 minutes by himself. I mean, come on. I'm a parent myself, and while I don't go full free range with my kids, I've taught them how to take care of themselves. They can make their own food. They can wash the dishes. They can use the microwave. They can wash their own clothes. And we're talking a 6 and an 8-year-old. I have a 6 and an 8-year-old, and both of them are able to do this. And that's by design. I don't sit there and hover over my children all night long. They have their own responsibilities. They have their own jobs. They have all of these things that they know they have to do. But I don't sit there and just have my eyes constantly on them. But what does happen, and this is me included, and I'm guilty of this as well, when they go outside in the front yard, I prefer them going in the back because it's fenced, but they like going out to the front yard because they can ride their bikes up and down the sidewalk. What happens is that I'm afraid, not because I worry that my children will be kidnapped or abducted. I worry about the fact that neighbors might call Child Protective Services if they see my children outside playing unattended. Even though they're right there in front of me, and I tell them, if you can't see the front door, you've gone too far. That's the rule. You have to be able to see the front door. And it's sad because I have grown up under this umbrella of, oh my goodness, if the kids go outside, they're going to get kidnapped, they're going to get raped, and they're going to get killed. And that's always constantly in the back of my mind, even though I know, and I've read the numbers, that just isn't true. In fact, stranger abductions, like the case of the 3 young women that in Cleveland, seem so horrible, but it is such a rarity that those things happen. The stereotypical abduction from, somebody that doesn't know the child, from a stranger, that represents only 1/100th of 1% of all missing children, according to the last comprehensive study, I believe was done back in 1999. The number of stranger abductions was actually 115 in that year. That number is so small, given that we've got, 330 million people in the U.S.? It's far more common that children run away, get lost or injured, are taken by a family member, usually in a custody dispute, or just aren't where they were supposed to be due to a miscommunication issue. And it is often perpetrated or purported that more and more children are going missing, but that's actually not the case. In fact, there are fewer missing persons of all ages, and down 31% between 1997 and 2011. And the number of homicides, sexual assaults, and almost all other crimes against children have dropped as well. They believe cell phones to be one of those reasons because it's so easy to get a hold of your children nowadays. So on one hand, we've got this phenomena where we have psychologically impacted our children in a negative way because we are, just hovering over our children constantly. And then on the other hand, that type of parenting doesn't make sense given the fact that child abductions are actually down considerably. 31% is a huge drop. So there's really no need for the helicopter parenting, which means that those 2 neighbors, Sonia and Brandy, that called the police on the mother of Tomahawk, they were way out of line, especially 15 to 20 minutes out on the playground that's 120 feet from her front door inside of a gated apartment complex. That's not enough time and shouldn't be enough of a worry for them. And besides that, if they wanted to make sure that the child was okay, they could have just watched the child themselves, or even went and knocked on the door of the lady just to have a conversation, because that would have actually drawn the child to the house where they wanted the child to be in the first place. But you've got, these neighbors nowadays that they want to teach you a lesson, and they don't want to be the one to come up and tell you to your face. They'd rather just call the cops and then, wash their hands of it. Well, I've done my job. That's how they think. But abductions are so rare in this country. In probably many countries, it's probably a rarity. At least by strangers, it is. And only 40% of those abductions result in the death of the child. Only 4% of abductions result in a child being unrecoverable. So there is a lot of misconceptions about abductions and child abuse and all of these things. So we have taken that to the extreme based on these few high-profile cases that you read about that make it seem like there's this epidemic going on when in fact it's down by 31%. So just know that going forward and realize that being a helicopter parent is actually going to harm your children in the long run. In order for them to learn independence, they have to be able to go out and do things on their own. They can't be independent if they constantly have mom and dad just on them constantly. And I wanted to share this video with you guys because it really does point to the state of this country and of our society and how absurd we can be sometimes when the reactions don't fit with the numbers that we see in terms of abductions. If you agree or disagree, please let me know in the comments section. Share and like this video, and I'll keep you updated if I hear anything about that later on, if she in fact does go to jail or if she gets the charges dropped. I believe she probably will get them dropped, I hope. That's it for now. This is Tim with Op-Ed Daily. Peace out.